I love using Inkscape, and I think most of the time we think it's a vector tool, but you can use it for photographs too. So in this video, I'm going to walk through how to change the color of a photograph. So here I'm going to open up my picture of my model. This is just a JPEG file. I'm just going to simply click it, and we can see here we can move it around. It's a pretty big file here, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to click undo, which is Control Z. That's going to move it back into the actual template. And now I'm going to create a shape over on the side, and I'm going to use the little square button over here, create rectangles and squares, and then I'm going to pick a color, in this case bright green, and I'm not even going to try to make it the same size. So you know, normally if you're new to Inkscape, you're trying to make this the exact same rectangle to overlay it, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to make it tiny little rectangle here that's not even close to being the same dimensions as my picture. Now here's a neat little trick to make the green rectangle the exact same size as the photograph. I'm going to click the photograph, and I'm going to click Edit, Copy, and then I'm going to click the square or the rectangle, and I'm going to click Edit, Paste Size. What this is going to do now is make the rectangle the exact same size as the photograph. Now you can try to move the rectangle right on top of the picture, and you can spend a couple minutes trying to make sure it's completely aligned, or you can just align it. And there's a really easy way to do that. Simply hold down the Shift key, select both items, so the square or the rectangle and the picture, and then you just go to the Align tool. Now the Align tool is sitting over on the bottom right hand side. It's third from the bottom. It says Align and Distribute Objects. I'm going to click on that, and then this Align menu comes up. So I'm just going to look for aligning vertically, so center on vertical axis, and then I'm also going to look for center on horizontal axis. And there I've now got both the picture and the rectangle aligned. I'm not going to be using the white rectangle in the background. Okay, so from here, I can now change the color of the square if I want. I could make it pink, for example. I could make it any color I want, but I want to be able to see the photograph underneath it. So there's a pretty easy way to do this. Down on the bottom left-hand side, there's a Fill and Stroke menu. It's on the very bottom left. I'm going to click that button there, Fill and Stroke, and this little wheel is going to open up, which is great. But I'm not actually going to be using the wheel unless I want to change the color, which you can do. But what I really care about is down near the bottom, it says Blend Mode, Normal. I'm going to change that blend mode to Multiply. We can see here now, this changes so we can see through the color into the photograph. Now we can still change the color if we want. Now you can change, not just multiply, but you can change this to screen. I really like that effect as well. And you can really play around with the different colors, and you can see what happens here when I move the wheel and I make it lighter or darker. I really like bright green, for example, and then you can make it darker as needed. If you make it black, it's just going to completely disappear the screen, but if you make it like pure green, that gives it a nice effect as well. There's other ones as well: darken, lighten, overlay, color dodge, color burn. The list goes on and on. Soft light is one that I use quite a bit as well. It gives, I think, for photographs a really nice hue, and you can make it as subtle as you want or as dramatic as you want. It's a great looking way to modify the color of an image without necessarily destroying it, because again, it's just a shape that's sitting on top of the photograph. Now, as always, if you want to export this, just make sure to do Control A. That highlights all of your selection, which is your photograph and your shape. And then over on the right hand side, there's a button that says Export this document. You click on that, and then from here you can export this as a PNG. And you can also change the size of it as well. So here I've got DPI is 96. I could change that to 300, for example. That's going to make this a really large graphic. Great for a fine art print or a coffee mug, a t-shirt, what have you. I really hope you found that helpful. Here's another video on how you can use the superpowers of Inkscape to make your life better in the world of graphic design.